In today's Sharp Saturday video, we're going to take a look at another knife from the folks at Kizlyar Supreme over in Russia, by the way. This is the Kizlyar Legion in Nylox steel. That's what we're going to be taking a look at coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for trustworthy information and gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name is Brian. Thanks for joining me. So the folks at Cast Iberia, who are the U.S. importers for the Kizlyar Supreme line of knives, plus several other lines, were kind enough to send me one of their Legion outdoor/survival knives so I could show it to you. And this is a pretty cool knife. It's got some pretty neat features. We looked at a couple of different Kizlyar knives on the channel in the past, probably several, and I've always been impressed by the level of quality and the just the workmanship that goes into these blades. And we're going to take a really detailed look at this knife in just a minute. But first, I want to introduce you to a new feature on the channel. We're going to start something called the Sportsman's Guide Military Surplus Minute. You've probably heard me say in the past that I think Sportsman's Guide has one of the best military surplus selections I've found anywhere. And so what we're going to do, we're going to kind of do a little mini review within a review, and I'm going to try to keep it to about a minute. And we're going to take a look at something from the military surplus selection at Sportsman's Guide. They were kind enough to send me for this first one, the Commando French military surplus wire saw. We've taken a look at some wire saws before that I wasn't really happy with. This one looks pretty cool, so what I thought we'd do is just try it out on a piece of wood while I'm telling you about it. This saw, by the way, has the most aggressive looking cable I've ever seen on a cable saw, so I'm pretty confident this is going to work pretty well, but let's get down there and do some cutting with it. So first of all, again, this is like new French military surplus, and the member price on this saw is $13.49. If you're interested in getting this exact one, the item number is WX2-71329. Yours may or may come with either the T-bar handles or rings. Don't forget, you can save 20 bucks on your $100 or more purchase at Sportsman's Guide by using the coupon code SURVIVAL20. That's it. Hopefully I kept it close to a minute. So thanks again to the folks at Sportsman's Guide for sponsoring these little reviews within a review. And now we'll take a look at the Kizlyar Supreme Legion. Okay, here's the Kizlyar Supreme Legion, and they're calling this an outdoor knife. Let's talk about the features of this real quick, and we'll get down to the old stump top and get to doing some knife stuff. So the Kizlyar Supreme Legion features a 5.62-inch blade of stone-washed Nylox steel. For those of you who aren't living in Liberia, Myanmar, or a country with a flag on the moon, that's 143 millimeters. The overall length of this knife is 10.7 inches or 272 millimeters. It features a 3D textured G10 handle, and it's the same kind of texture that's on a lot of the Kizlyar Supreme knives. And it's got a little bit of jimping right here on top, which is pretty cool. The blade is really interesting. It has a fuller down the middle of both sides, and then it's kind of a spear point type. It's got a kind of a false edge on top, but the very, very, very last probably quarter of an inch, maybe a little bit more than a centimeter, is sharpened on both sides to give you some really good piercing ability there. And then it's a flat grind, or saber grind I would call it, from the fuller down to the edge. You've got a nice little finger kind of groove here for your handle. It feels really good in my hand. And then 3 sleeved lanyard holes, or I guess you could use these for lashing holes or whatever you wanted to. You could probably kind of help you get started with a bow drill divot there if you needed to. The spine does not feel very sharp, but we're going to check that out obviously in just a minute. Also, this knife comes with a really nice kind of a Cordura nylon sheath that is multi-carry. It is MOLLE compatible. It's got belt loops here, several, you got the Velcro on them, and a snap. It's got a little plastic insert, so it is ambidextrous. You can put it in that way, and it snaps in pretty good here, but then it has a retention snap strap there, and a little leg lanyard with a cord keeper on it. And by the way, just to kind of give you one more quick look at the blade, this Nylox steel is a German stain-resistant tool steel, and according to the website, it has good edge holding, decent toughness, and it's very good wear resistance, edge stability, and corrosion resistance. Also, to get this out of the way, the price of this knife on Amazon and Nylox is 135 bucks, and it is 99 bucks in D2 black titanium coating. So there you go. Now let's get down to the old stump top and get to doing some knife stuff. Okay, here we are with the Kizlyar Supreme Legend. And first of all, wouldn't be a good video if we didn't do the redneck knife test. So let's just see if this thing will shave the hair on my arm. Ooh, so this part here seems a little bit sharper. I don't know. Okay, never mind. It's always sharp all the way down. I'm gonna try this little tip part right up here. Hopefully I can do that without slicing myself. No, you know what? I'll wind up bleeding it if I'm not careful. So anyway, it did shave a little hair. So just to be completely thorough, we're going to do some chopping with this. It's not really designed as a chopper. It's definitely the weight is not forward in it. I'd say the balance point on this knife for me is about right there. So about the center of that kind of finger choil there in the handle. But we're going to, of course, scientifically check the balance in a minute. But let's just do a little bit of real quick chopping. And I've actually got this piece of wood that I used to test out the French cable saw, which, by the way, I finally wound up breaking. I did this off camera, but that thing really did work really well. I'm pretty impressed with it. So I'm just going to do a little chopping here, and then we'll do a little batoning. So I just want to see real quickly how well it could chop, because it's, and kind of also just to kind of test the blade up a little bit. I like to do this. I like to do this before I try to carve some feathers or curls. Okay, sorry, had to adjust the exposure on the old camera because I've got everything set to manual to try to get the best picture possible for you with my fancy dancy new Panasonic GH4 camera setup. So anyway, the sun's coming in and out, so it's probably going to be kind of jacked up. But it's better to be underexposed a little bit than overexposed, I think. So we're just going to do a little more chopping here. And so, as you can see, you know, if you needed to do a little chopping, it will, but it's definitely not going to even come close to replacing an axe or a hatchet. So, what about some batoning? So, it's been raining out here. I don't know how, this feels pretty dry, but if you had to get to the center of some wood, this is about maybe about a 2.25 inch diameter piece of really solid wood. So, you know me, I got to do a little batoning, right? So, let's just go ahead and see what happens. Well, fiddlesticks, you can see I was well into the feathering part of the review when I realized that my record button had apparently been turned off instead of on. So I'll spare you the fabricated reenactment and just show you the results, I guess. So you can see it chopped batoned through this wood very well. You can see the, you know, there's a lot of knots in here, knots there, knots here, knots here. This is very fibrous wood, knots there. One thing that I will show you is after doing the batoning, and this was some really tough wood to be no bigger than it was, only 2 inches, but it was really tough. Let me see if you can hear that. This scale is pretty loose, and so is the other side. So there's no screws here, no way to tighten those up. You might could take something with a little bit of a cone on it and hammer those pins in, those sleeves in a little bit, and that might tighten it back up again. But it's it doesn't really affect the functionality of it, but it is just a little bit loose. I don't think it's coming out because those things are flared, but it did loosen up a little bit. So that's from beating the heck out of it with a baton. Just keeping it real for you here. There's no sense in my going back and pretending we're going to baton something. I really don't want to cut another piece or try to deal with it. So it's hot out here. So anyway, we're going to do a little more carving of the feathers here and just show you. I'm trying to get a kind of something smooth, some of these fibers that are split out of there out of the way, so we can actually maybe get some pretty good little pile of feathers or curls. I want to try to get some really small ones and show you how well this thing is doing those, because it really is doing a pretty good job, even on this less than optimal wood. But as I said when I didn't have the record button pushed, if you're in a survival type situation, then you absolutely probably just going to have to use whatever wood you can find, and you may not be able to choose the optimal wood for doing whatever you're trying to do. So you got to be able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. and endeavor to persevere. But yeah, this thing is really, really well on the feathers. So, pretty good there, I gotta say. I mean, I'm pretty happy with that little pile. The question I have in my mind is, will this thing, is it have any capability of striking a ferro rod? And I honestly have my doubts. Before we try that, let me just show you. So this thing has this part that you can see beyond my finger here has a double edge, very, very sharp little point on it. And if you're trying to do something like maybe make a fireboard, because this might be a reasonable candidate for a fireboard, except it's so stinking hard for a bow drill fire. But it absolutely does a good job on that. It's going to carve from both sides if you're trying to bore a hole, which is pretty cool. And in no time at all, you got a pretty good little divot right there. So let me get my ferro rod. Okay, so I have got the old school, old Schrade large ferro rod here, which is a pretty soft one. So if any place on here will strike it, this should do the trick. Let's see. Oh no, Mr. Bill. Now I am 100% certain that I will be getting multiple comments about, you see, that's why you pull the ferro rod. I know I will, but I just don't do really good at that pulling the ferro rod thing, especially when you don't have a any kind of a sharp spine to strike it on. Well, fiddlesticks. Try it on the jimping. Just not very much here. Not very much of anything. Okay, the false edge, which is almost sharpened, but not quite sharpened up here, seems to produce some sparks. So we're gonna try it Brian's way. I'm gonna push this down on there. Okay, maybe I was being optimistic, because it doesn't seem to produce very many. Okay, there we go. So you almost have to turn it almost like you're trying to cut it, but it worked. There we go. And man, that's not even cedar, and it smells good. I think I just like the smell of burning wood. Okay, well, so that was some of the practical tests of the Kizlyar Supreme Legion, and it did pretty well. The finally figured out kind of almost have to carve onto the ferro rod with this false edge, but it worked. I'm a little disappointed again that the handle's a little loose. There's no way to tighten it up. I'm beating the heck out of it. But as you know, here at Survival on Purpose Worldwide Headquarters, we maintain a state-of-the-art cutting-edge knife testing facility, and we do like to get all scientific when we're testing these things. So one of the tests we like to do with every fixed blade knife is to check the balance on the old balance orientation and rotation device. So let's do that right now with this one. Hope I've got my calibration right, because I don't know how well these handles will stand up to a miscalibrated test. And of course, the first one was a miss. And the second. Okay. Seem to be having a lot of trouble finding my groove today. When Chuck Norris was a little boy, he wrecked his bike and skinned the sidewalk with his knee. Okay. Shall I try that again? Let's see. Maybe that's the trick. Okay, we're gonna call this one balanced. Well, we're gonna call this one, like I said, balanced, although it took me quite a while to get my calibration process in order this time. And the handle, see if you can hear that with them in front of the mic. Yeah, so I gotta say, I wanted to like this knife a lot. I still like it. I do like it. I like the style of it. I think it has its place, but I don't think they're calling this an outdoor knife. And for me, this would be more of a combat style knife. Really, it looks more like a combat knife. I think it probably functions better as that. And it's probably not designed to be beaten with a stick, but an outdoor knife is going to get baton by many people. And I know if you are one of the anti-batoners in my viewership here, then you're going to say, "See, I told you so. That's why you don't beat the heck out of your knife." But that's why I do it on video, to test it, just to see if it will hold up or not. Sorry, I was looking at my dog running over there. Anyway, the Nylock steel seemed to do really well. It carved very well. It's not really a great chopper. It batoned just fine, except for the handles. And the only place I could find a striker ferrule rod is here. So for me, for an outdoor knife, this is not going to be my first choice. And you know, so this is one of the closest to a negative review I've done in a while. And I'm not saying it's a bad knife. I do think it's a good knife. It looks good. It's made well. And I know also somebody's going to be saying, "Well, you know, this was all you could do not to say something bad about the knife." But the reality is, I do like it. I think it's a cool looking knife, and I think it has a really good potential as a defensive or combat knife. This little double edge right here I think that would probably go through most soft body armor or something if somebody's attacking you. Certainly to go through leather jackets very well, or blue jeans or denim or whatever. This knife seems to be designed for combat to me. It looks like a combat knife. It feels like a combat knife. If I was going to use this for combat, I would probably finish sharpening that false edge up there. But all in all, I think it could be a really good combat knife, but as an outdoor knife, I would not recommend this one. On a brighter note, this French surplus wire saw from the folks at Sportsman's Guide has completely changed my opinion of wire saws. This thing absolutely rocks. Again, thanks to the folks at Cast Siberia for sending me this so I could show it to you and beat the heck out of it and kind of mess it up a little bit. And as always, thank you for watching Survival on Purpose. I put out a brand new video every Friday and Saturday, and sometimes random videos throughout the week. If you want to make sure you don't miss a single one, I invite you to go to survivalonpurpose.com/subscribe, where every week I'll send you some links to previous videos, and usually there's some older videos so you can get a good laugh at how much I've always been this much of a rambling doofus sometimes, and occasionally we do subscriber-only stuff on there. So anyway, thanks for all your support. Once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.